funnest part, we have sport, right? Which would be like the games and like or myself being an MMA fighter. And then this is the teeniest little piece of the pyramid. It's the least important part of CrossFit, right? Then underneath that, we have weightlifting, right? Pounds and throwing, which we do here at our gym often, but not many other CrossFit gyms don't throw things very often. And underneath that, we have the one that you guys hate the most, gymnastic movements, right? And then can anyone fill in these two blocks? No CrossFit zombies. So this one right here is going to be Metcon, or metabolic conditioning, right? And then what do you think this last one is going to be, guys? Nutrition, right? The most important pyramid of all of it. Greg Glassman has a great quote for nutrition. It's eat meat, nuts, berries, fruits, vegetables, and sparingly sugar. It's pretty much like as simple as it can be. Eat something that grew on a tree at one point or was alive, and try and stay away from sugar as much as you can. Obviously, that's easier said than done. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here like, Alan, how do I do macros and this and that, right? So, I'm going to open up really quick with what are some common misconceptions or myths that you guys hold on to or have heard that I can try and clear up as fast as possible.
Carbs are bad.
Carbs are bad. That's 100% absolutely not true in any way, shape, or form. So carbs, guys, if we break it all the way down, is glucose, glucosamine, etc. Right? But without those glucose, we lose immune system function, brain function, muscle repair function. It's actually one of the most important parts of your diet. If you bring yourself too far out of those, then we lose longevity. We start doing weird things like ketosis, etc. But if you guys are trying to A, survive, and B, build some sort of muscle, you're going to need a little bit of carbs in your life.
Just turn it off.
No other myths?
You have to eat chicken and rice and broccoli to...
Right, that one's actually pretty true. That's like spot on. No, I'm kidding.
Okay,
That's not true. So you don't have to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli. They're really good choices, but you don't have to eat those. I'm going to show you guys a bunch of choices and options to kind of help along the way. Some other silly myths, like eating at night is bad for you. Not true. Not at all. If you guys have to eat meat to maintain your calories or macros, or you're doing some sort of intermittent fasting, then you're going to end up eating at night. If you work a job, you're in the Marine Corps, etc., you're going to end up eating at night. Like, there's no way around it. I would much rather you guys eat than be like, oh, it's after 6 p.m., I can't eat. That's not worse. Other ones, fats don't make you fat. That's not how that works. We're going to get into macros and all those of the sort. I'm also going to read off a calorie list for you guys. But does anyone know how we burn fat, or what happens to the fat that you burn? Shrink? Kind of. So we just know that magically fat gets burned some way, right? Right. So you guys are all burning fat right now. All you have to do is breathe, right? More than 70% of your fat gets burned coming out of your lungs. About 20 to 30%, depending on your body, etc., comes out through sweat and urine. But the rest of it comes out through breathing. So to burn fat, your body goes through a bunch of processes. I'm not going to get into the super science, but it basically, even to burn fat or use a carb, your body needs energy. That energy produces triglycerides. Those triglycerides have byproducts, one being water, the other one being carbon dioxide. So every time you breathe out, there's a couple teeny tiny micro nanograms of carbon dioxide that comes out, and that's the fat exiting your body, right? So all we need to do is learn, maintain, or stay in a deficit, and you're going to burn fat. It's always going to happen. I'm going to go into calories first because it's the most important thing that you guys need to understand here, right? If I were to make a big giant pie of importance, right? Like that much of it would be calories. And if I were to say the next important thing, okay, now we're going to go over more notes. We would say that little tiny slice right there would be macros. And then this teeny tiny little slice right here is timing, right? It's not nearly as important until you've already filled up this whole pot. Then the last kind of like slivers, right? These guys here, and my pie sizes aren't very accurate as far as percentages, but these would be your food consumption, or we call it choices. Hey now. And then lastly, supplementation, right? So you guys can see if they were in priority, and this would be 1, 2, 3, 4 is your food choice. Your food choice is very negligible on there, as long as you guys are maintaining portions and calories, right? And lastly, supplementation. And I'm honestly, we're just gonna skip supplements today because my answer is always gonna be steaks, not shakes. Always gonna be my answer. Anytime, hey, what if I can't eat more steak? It's gonna be my answer. Every time you guys have a question, should I put a protein shake or eat a steak? It's gonna be a steak. So guys, that being said, how do I fill this big giant block, this calorie block? So everybody here has different BMR or basal metabolic rate, right? And that would be like if you guys are in a coma, how much calories would be in that IV to keep you alive? And that's pretty much all of it. Just barely living, you need this many calories. If we go below it, again, we start falling into those weird things. Like for females, we start losing specifically female functions, right? We start losing that immune system functions. We start losing longevity. It's not very good for our health because we're going to be burning and eating other things that don't want to be burned, muscles, organs, etc. So you want to stay at least at BMR or higher. That being said, how do we figure out our basal metabolic rate, right? That BMR, right? How many calories we need to survive? I can read you guys off a nice mathematical equation, right? For females, it's 655 plus 9.6 times your kilograms in weight, plus 1.8 times your centimeters in height. Don't worry about it, guys. You're not going to need this, okay? That's why I was just spitting it off real fast. Subtracted by 4.7 times your age. Right, but it's 2019, and you guys can simply just type in BMR calculator. And some geek on the internet will do it all for you. So you type in your weight, your size, your age, height, and you're going to get those BMRs. Questions on BMR, guys. Super, super simple. Everybody's going to have a number. It's always going to be different because we're all different sizes, shapes, etc. That being said, your BMR also has a couple other factors in it for our next thing, which is we're going to call it our total daily energy expenditure. So if we weren't in a coma, which none of us here are, or at least I'm assuming, then you're going to burn more than your BMR, right? And again, we all have different lives. So if you're very sedentary and you're not doing much and maybe exercising once a week and it's a light moderate exercise, you're going to take that BMR and you're going to times it by 1.2, right? So say, like, for example, my BMR for a small woman would be roughly 2,000 calories. I'm going to times that by 1.2, which is going to bring me up to about 2,400 calories, right? So this will be my total daily energy expenditure, right? This is what I need to survive. This covers my other functions: walking, talking, eating, right? Eating takes energy, things of the sort. Some things that affect our total daily energy, right? It's going to be my activity level, which we went over if you're super sedentary. For most of us, we're here about 3 times a week, maybe even 5. We're going to bump this number up to, we're going to call it 1.5. And if you feel like you're in the middle, then you can just shoot in the middle of like a 1.35 or 1.37, right? If you're a super athlete, we can bump it up to 1.7. And that's going to be people who are doing like 2-a-days, prepping for shows, things of the sort. If you're a professional athlete, you might even go up to 1.9. Right, so almost double your BMR, kind of really close there. And that's really going to be like bodybuilders, NFL athletes, people who are 300 plus pounds and at 15% body fat. You know what I mean? So guys, once we get this 2,400, again, that's my total daily expenditure. And it's going to be affected by your exercise. It's going to be affected by your non-exercise. So if you sit in a chair all day or if you walk all day. But you guys are going to want to go, what's next, right? So we figured out what this is. And if you guys stay under it, you'll lose weight. If you stay at it, you'll stay the same. If you go over it, you're going to gain weight. This is the law of thermodynamics, the energy consumption law. I mean, this is science. You can't unprove these facts. It's so generally well accepted by every single scientist, maybe not nutritionists because they're weird, but every single scientist in the world, that if anyone can prove this wrong, guaranteed Nobel Prize. First time you prove it wrong. No one has that Nobel Prize yet, so we're going to say that's a general fact. If you're above your calories, you'll gain weight. If you're below, you're going to lose weight. Now, here's where it comes tricky, guys. This is a general roundabout, right? If you're sitting at this and it's 6 weeks and you still haven't lost any weight, then either A, you don't move as fast or as hard as you think you are, or B, you're not eating as much or too much of what you think you're eating. Does that make sense, guys? When you guys find that balance, and you guys want to take that next step to get these macros, again, we're going to start looking into am I trying to gain weight, lose weight, or maintain weight? So if I'm trying to lose weight, I'm going to tell you guys to take your body weight in pounds, right? I'm going to get rid of my bicycle. And here's the ones that you guys are going to take notes on, right? So if I'm trying to lose weight, I'm going to take my body weight in pounds. I'm going to times it by 1.2. So for myself, at 200 X pounds, right, I go 1.2. I'm looking at about 240 grams of protein a day, right? The next thing is going to be fats, right? I'm sorry, I probably jumped a little fast. As far as macros, do we understand that we have protein, fat, and carbs? Okay, so protein is the most important one. If we're going to go like calories are king, then protein's going to be queen. You know what I mean? Once I set this, everything else is going to be cruise control. For fats, this is protein, guys, P-R-O. For fats, I'm going to go 0.3 to 0.5, again, times my body weight, right? So myself, I eat very, very low carb, mostly because I don't sleep very well. If I were to sleep a lot better, I would go high carb. But I don't sleep very well, sometimes 3-4 hours. If you guys are getting 8 hours, you can probably bump those up and stay low on the fat and high on the carb. Does that make sense? So the better you are at recovery, the more carbs you can take in. If you're not very good at recovery, not good at eating your meals, then stay a little bit lower on those carbs. So we're going to go with 0.3 to 0.5 times my body weight. So for me, it's going to end up looking like about 100 grams.
Is that fat or is that carbs?
That's fats, guys. So this is fats. So to fill in the blank, if I'm staying in maintenance and I want to maintain weight, I'm just going to take whatever calories are left over, which I'll show you guys here in a second, and I'm going to divide those by 4, and that's going to give me my carbs, and I'm just going to hang out there, right? So for me personally, I'm at about 3,000-ish calories. This 240 times 4 puts me at 8. What is that? I'm sorry. So we'll go 240 times 4 because a protein is worth 4, a fat is going to be worth 9, guys, and a carb is going to be worth 4. Right? So this 240 puts me at 960. And this 100 puts me at about 900. And if I'm taking that out of 3,000, I have 900 plus 960 minus, or 3,000 minus those two numbers, right? So 3,000 minus 960 minus 900. I have 1140. I'm going to divide that by 4. and I have 285 carbs. Right? Now, if I'm trying to lose weight, this would be maintenance numbers, right? I want to be in a deficit. So I'm going to take that, which was 1140, right? Is everyone following me? We kind of lost. Anybody? No, this is, so from 3,000 calories, which is my daily allotment, right? Minus my protein, minus my fats, I was left with 1,140 calories, right? I take those calories, divide those by 4, gives me 285 carbs. Yes, ma'am. So, this 1140, I want to be in a deficit, right? So I'm going to take about 500 of those pounds. So that's going to put me at 640. If you guys are uncomfortable and 500 calories sounds like it's going to be miserable and you can't take it out of your diet, take about 20%, right, of your diet out. Does that make sense? So guys, this 640 is now going to turn me into 160 carbs. Right, so this is going to be a weight loss macro set here, right? I'm going 1.2 times body weight, about 0.3 to 0.5, depending on if you're better maintained of fat or carbs, times body weight, and then the remainder, plus or minus a deficit, right? Anybody kind of feeling me? Now guys, this is going to play. Again, we're going to play around with this because of maybe my activity level wasn't really where I wanted it to be. Maybe I burned a little bit more in my activity level. I actually added in exercises, or I started being more active because it's summer. I'm not sitting on my butt as much, right? It's going to play. You're going to have to play with them. It's not going to be like, right away, this is what's going to change our life. Is anybody super, super interested in gaining mass? Not so much. Sure. So generally, guys, the bigger we are, the stronger we are, right? Generally. It's a generalization, okay? If we have two muscles with the same central nervous system recruitment, so like, let's just say your muscle has 500 horsepower, my muscle has 500 horsepower, and I'm just making a generalization, the muscle with the larger cross-sectional area will move more weight. Now again, that comes down to central nervous system. We all seen little 123-pound Jess, right? My arms are way bigger than hers, and she's way stronger than me. Way stronger, right? She's got better neural pathways to her muscles. She fires better. She's just stronger in general. Does that make sense? If you're trying to gain mass, Drew, I'm going to go over that. You're actually going to lower this protein. You're going to go to like 0.8, maybe even 1. So 0.8 times my body weight or 1. Because of, I need more carbs. Because again, carbs are bad, right? Carbs are evil. But I need more carbs in my life because of carbs fill the gap that make proteins make muscle, right? If the protein is the bricks, the carbs is the mortar that helps me lay in those muscles. So I need to have, I need to be in a similar calorie balance, but I need to change the way my macros lay out a little differently. And if you're in maintenance, you don't need to go as crazy on the protein. I just like to stay high protein because it's satiable. It's easier to stay lower on my calories, right? What fills you up more? 2 cups of spinach or 2 cups of chicken? Right, that's a straight up, like 2 cups of chicken every day. 2 cups of spinach, I'm going to be hungry in about an hour, right? Guys, does anybody have any questions on macros or calories?
No, sir.
We're pretty set? Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to go over some food choices. I specifically borrowed this from Stan Efferding. If you guys ever want to look him up, Stan the Rhino Efferding. He's an extremely intelligent trainer. He's been in the fitness world for 30, 40 years. At one point in his life, he was the world's strongest bodybuilder. So he competed in a bodybuilding competition, and then about a month later, did a powerlifting competition, did a pro total, like a 900-pound deadlift, 800-pound squat. He walks around at 10% body all the time. He's lean, jacked, tan. everything we're trying to be, right? His diet's called the vertical diet. If you guys ever want to look that up, vertical diet, Stan Efferding. This is right out of his book. I'm gonna read these food choices off, and then I would like you guys, not her, to try and guess how many calories is going on here. All right? All right, so for breakfast, we're gonna have 4 eggs, 4 egg whites, 1 slice of cheddar, 3 baby carrots, 2 ounces of cranberry juice, 10 almonds, spinach and peppers, which we're just not gonna count, we're just gonna call it about a handful, right? And then we're gonna have a 1/4 ounce of butter or ghee or fat. For lunch, we're gonna have 5 ounces of bison or sirloin. I'm gonna have 3/4 a cup of rice, or I can substitute those out with the red potatoes. I'm gonna have 2 cups of spinach, some bell peppers, 4 ounces of bone broth, chicken broth cup, right? And then 1 small orange or 4 ounces of orange juice. For dinner, I'm gonna have 5 ounces of steak, salmon or bison. I'm gonna have a 1/2 cup of rice, 2 cups of spinach, 4 ounces of orange juice, and then for snacks, I'm gonna have a cup of yogurt and some more baby carrots. A cup of yogurt. Yogurt. So, does anybody feel like they're eating that much in a day?
No.
Right, I said not you. No, right? You're probably not. Okay, so food comes in 2 choices. Calorie dense or nutrient dense, right? I can tell you that this that I'm reading right here is about 400 calories less than 1 McDonald's meal. How many calories did I read off for a full day?
1,700.
1750. Right. 1750. And that's quite a bit of food. We have 15 ounces of meat, 8 eggs, well, 4 eggs and 4 egg whites, right? That's quite a bit. So this is where the choices start coming in. Okay? You could eat all this and be full, or you could eat McDonald's one time and fuck your diet up and be hungry in 4 hours. Right? This is where the choices come in. Can I have a slice of pizza? Fuck yeah. Last time I did this class, I went over it right. So it was 4 ounces of chicken, a 1/2 cup of rice with a teaspoon of butter, and a cup of broccoli. Or 2 slices of Papa John's chicken Alfredo pizza. Which one's different? Which one's better? Papa John's pizza probably tastes better, sure. But as far as calories and almost exactly on macros, they're almost exactly the same. The pizza, you're gonna be hungry. If you eat all the chicken, the rice, and the broccoli, you're probably not gonna. But I'm telling you that you can make those choices. You just have to be smart about them. Again, we either get calorie-dense food or we get nutrient-dense food. Let's think about it another way. 6 ounces of tuna. What was it, 200 calories, right? It was 100. 5 ounces of tuna steak, right? 150 calories. Add 2 cups of spinach. You're now at 170 calories. Add a little bit of dressing. We're still under 200 calories. That's a pretty satiating food right there, right? You can even add the rice back in there. You get another 200 calories. 700 calories, not that big of a meal, right? My meals are usually 800 calories each, about 6 of them a day. So again, our choices come into play, but only when we remember that pie, after we do calories, after we figure out macros, then the choices come into play. Does that make sense? Of course, I'm going to tell you guys to pick better foods. But don't fall into the habit of saying, oh, I fucked my diet up, I'm just going to let it fucking ride. Don't do that. You didn't fuck it up. You just need to steal from somewhere else, right? So if you want the pizza, maybe you don't have carbs for the other 2 meals because you're going to burn them on the pizza, right? Lastly, some other thought processes that you guys can add in. You can think about your diet over the week, right? So say, instead of saying I have daily macros, just say I have to hit all these macros in a week. Your body's very fine-tuned. It doesn't use everything that you put in one single day. None of us are professional and elite level athletes, right? You're probably holding some food that you had 2 days ago in your stomach. So if you go a little bit over on your calories or a little bit under on your macros, make up for them on the next day, right? So that at the end of the week, you have a low calorie deficit instead of thinking every single day. So if you go over on a day, it's not that bad. Just on the next day, go under a little bit harder, right? So that at the end of the week, you have a large deficit. How many calories are in a pound? Roughly, right? There's lots of science on that, but generally we need to burn 3,500 calories to lose 1 pound of weight, right? What's up?
So if you're nursing, should you increase protein?
So if you're nursing, let's flip it back. I'm not a doctor, or what is it? They have their own special term now for the nurse feeding. What is their
Lactate.
Oh, a lactician, right? Okay. If you are a lactician, I'm not bragging on your job, but if it takes only 200 to 300 calories to make a baby, I'm sure it doesn't take more than 300 calories to make some tit milk.
Yeah, that's a 500 calorie addition to your normal class for breastfeeding.
Right, but I can also say on the other side, like it's a 200 to 300 calorie to make your baby. So to make an entire human, right, then you only need 500 calories. 3 to 5.
I'm just saying so a lactation usually says 500 calories is about what your feed takes a day per body.
Okay, I can see that.
I basically go 14 minutes every 2 hours, and I underate. I probably ate roughly around 6 calories per day, and my
Right, I would say that if you're so far in a deficit that you're not producing milk anymore, add the calories. But I wouldn't say that it would be such an issue that that should be your first concern. Like, do you know how many calories you ate yesterday? Do you know how many calories you ate 4 days ago? Do you know how many protein you ate 4 days ago? I don't think we're at that point where we need to understand that yet. You see what I'm saying? Again, bring it back. Calories are the number one priority, right? If you don't understand where that is, then the other pieces of the pie are negligible. We need to get that one first. So for you to say, how many more calories should I add to my imaginary number that I don't know what it is? Right now we're putting in an algebra equation. X plus 200, that's what you should have. But you don't even know what X is, right? Do you know what your BMR is? Okay, so that's where we need to start, right? Finding the BMR, finding your total daily energy expenditure, trying to narrow that in as close as we can. Then we go to macros. Then we go to timing, right? Then we go to choices and stuff like that. And by choices, I don't mean go eat gummy bears all day. I mean, when you're that far in your fitness journey, then you can start going like farm-raised, homegrown, I bought it from gym next door chicken, as opposed to I bought the family pack. You see what I mean? Like if you're so worried about where your salmon came from, like what state and what coordinates on the grid, we better have everything else in line first. Other than that, just take the steroid chicken and learn to eat chicken rice and Questions, guys? No. You what? So, scientifically, we're messing something up. We're either A, not using a good tracking device, your tracker is telling you your calories are different than what you're putting in. B, we're under or overestimating that activity level. There are some dietitians that say you can put yourself in a state of fat, right, where like your body then holds on to. But again, when we come back to the science of it, if you're eating less calories than you're putting in, you should be losing weight. So if you're like, I'm not eating enough, but I'm still gaining weight. Correct, thyroid problem. Questions? No? We're all going to be jacked and tan by this time in 6 months?
Hell yeah.
I want to say Jack Ken.
Like rice, bread, like pasta, all that stuff. Like I can't eat. So
Why? Why does it make you sick? You don't know?
some type of like it's not an allergy, but it's like similar to that. I forget what it's called. Like sensitivity. I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I've had a bunch of tests done on it and they can't really figure it out, but it makes me sick, so I can't eat them.
Okay.
So I have a hard time eating like carb type thing aside from like fruit, which really basically is just the sugar.
So,
Like potatoes, like all that stuff, like it all has the same effect.
what is the effect? Makes you throw up. How heavily have we like experimented? Okay. So some things that I would say are, have you tried eating the food, said name food, with nothing else? Yes. So a half a cup of white rice with is will immediately make you throw up.
It takes about a half an hour.
And they say all starches.
Anything, yes. So it's potatoes of any kind, anything breadish, so regular bread, any type of grain bread, pizza, and any pasta, whole grain or otherwise, gluten-free or otherwise. They all have the same thing.
Quinoa.
Have you tried like every type of bread?
Quinoa, things like that.
Like even like sprouted
A lot of
grain
carbs.
breads and like
A lot of carbs.
pita breads or
Yeah, but it's
Tortillas?
been last for years, so I've literally had like every test on the planet done, and we tried like isolating every single type of thing, trying
What are the other foods in your diet generally?
like fish, vegetables.
What kind of vegetables? You know what the FODMAP is? Have you ever heard of that term? Alright guys, so we have all different types of foods, and again, we're going deeper and deeper down because of your consumption, actually not last, but the category before supplements is important because of certain things give you a flare up, right? We have foods that are like either A, super acidic, or B, the way they interact with our body. Generally, it's called the FODMAP, high and low on the FODMAP. It causes indigestion, gas, it can cause vomiting, things of the sort. Also, we have our gut biome, right, like our little ecosystem in our belly. If you're constantly eating foods that are high on that map, so asparagus is pretty high, it's pretty acidic. I know it's like super healthy food, but it's like pretty high on that list. Broccoli's not super high, but it's a little bit high, as opposed to spinach, bell peppers. They're like real super low on that list. I don't know like what concoction or what like generally is going on. How much fermented food do you eat? So something that has a fungus, right? Sure. Mushrooms. Let's go deeper though. Let's go like a yogurt. Let's go hard cheese. Okay. So I think I'm swimming down the right path here. What about sauerkraut? Okay. I think you might want to do a little research on the
Every hot dog ever
biology
ate.
inside your stomach.
I just
Okay.
want the taste.
So you're not getting yeast.
That's like cabbage, right?
There's no yeast in your life, other than your just feminine general yeast, right? Okay. So you could be having a chemical reaction because there's no, the bugs in your stomach, they have nothing to eat. So when you throw that in there, they don't have the processes to make those useful to us. Does that make sense? Hard cheeses, yogurts, especially for females, super important. Something fermented, whether it's kimchi, whether it's kombucha, whether it's sauerkraut, but like I understand that these are really good for your stomach, right? Building that biome. More than a human being, you're like a host for bugs. It's really what you are. You're really just like another vessel for other bugs. Right, and if those bugs can't eat, they're going to get super upset. The fact that you can't eat anything that has to do with a starch, that was like the first flag, right? So then, when I started asking you questions, and again, I'm not a certified nutritionist, I'm just giving you some research that I have done personally, right? We don't eat any dairy, which I personally am not a huge dairy fan. But the fermenting process, the process of making hard cheeses, feeds that gut biome inside of our stomach, right? If the little ecosystem in the stomach is upset, it's gonna make things hard to do. So even if it's as simple as adding cottage cheese or yogurt or something like that, all the things that just make you cringe inside, right? They make me cringe too, but I would look into that. I would even ask if you've already been having tests, and doctors would be like, hey, a friend of mine brought this up. Could I have a off balance inside my stomach? Do you take any probiotics or anything? Right. So what's better than probiotics is the actual real fungus, like the real stuff. You know what I mean? Other than that, I mean, like I said, I'm not a certified nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm just a meathead who knows a little bit about calories. But I would look into that. I would ask my doctor, hey, I don't eat any yogurts. I don't do any of this. Because they're all super, super important, especially as a women. You guys have a much harder ecosystem to maintain than we do.
So I used to eat that stuff, but we took it out, trying to see if that was part of it.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to commandeer this whole conversation.
It's okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what I would look. Like,
It's interesting.
right. Because that's what,
kind of like I don't know kind of thing.
right. I 100% I get that. You know what I mean? Because when you're saying, like, the starches, those are yeast for, you know what I mean? Like, that's where we're going. We're missing all those. Again, I would hate to say we have to experiment and try things. Some other things are, in case you guys didn't know, when you microwave white rice, so the rice is still a teeny tiny little bit alive, but it has defensive mechanism. When you guys microwave white rice, it releases an enzyme that makes it harder to digest. So this can be a plus and a negative. If you're trying to lose weight, it's going to stay in your stomach longer, keeping you satiated a little bit fuller. If you're trying to gain weight and you're eating microwaved rice, it's not being processed the right way. So if you're trying to gain weight, fresh rice is always better, right? I don't know. I think so.
I think it's like a toxin.
Right. When you microwave it, the rice releases an enzyme for your stomach and makes it harder to digest. So I was going to ask, like, fresh rice, minute rice, real rice, microwave rice. Like, have we tried all of these variables?
Not microwave, I usually just cook it.
Okay. I mean, without telling you to go home and try and puke, but I would try some microwave rice, see what happens. I would also try maybe adding, they sell probiotics that you guys can drink and stuff now. I mean, there's so many options. But if we're like X% water, we're 6 billion bugs in your stomach. Not million, billion bugs in your stomach. So if you don't keep them happy, they're not going to be very stomach happy. And again, look up the FODMAP. It's FODMAP, FODMAP, right? And it's going to tell you where those things fall. You also have like the glycemic index, right? So certain things are higher. And then lastly, you have thermic. So certain foods are actually more metabolic than other foods because of your body needs to kick your energy up to burn them. Does that make sense? So like if you were to think about it, if I had like some whole grain in one hand and I had a red raw steak in the other hand, I lit them both on fire, which one would stay on fire longer? The steak, right? Your body has to do that. Your body has to kick its thermic rate up to burn that food. So certain foods require more energy to eat than other foods. And again, this all comes back into that total daily expenditure, right? The foods that you're eating affect that total daily expenditure. Like if you're eating vegan, then you're gonna have to eat a ton of food to get those numbers. If you're trying to be a vegan athlete, you're gonna have to eat even more food to get those numbers, right? Other questions? I hope that helps folks out.
So the whole idea of opening and cutting, is that just like your fitness routine or income diet as well?
Diet. So again, let's go back to this one, right? Nutrition. If you want to get bigger, you have to eat bigger, right? If you want to get more toned, you have to bring that body fat down. Now, body fat and scale are different worlds, right? I don't want to get too deep into cutting for a show and things of the sort, right? But stage ready and healthy are not the same thing. Again, if your primary goal is losing weight, calorie deficit needs to be your primary goal. What's up?
What's the healthy challenge that's
The one that you can maintain. The one that when you guys wake up in the morning and look in the mirror, you're like, oh, I'm doing all right. It's not that bad, right? Don't get so wrapped up over numbers, guys. Numbers are for competitors. If you guys have plans to compete, awesome, that's great. We'll help you guys with every single one of them. But I can line 10 of you girls up, and you could all be 160, 160, 160, 160, or 130, 130, 130, and none of you are gonna wear the same bra, panties, underwear, shirt, etc. You're gonna like, my brand fits, this 00 fits, this 7 fits, this one doesn't fit, right? You guys all know this because you guys are all go shopping, right? Certain brands fit different because you guys are all different, okay? You should be, most of you guys are of the motherly type, you should be celebrating that. Like, hey, you guys brought things. Sure, it's okay to want to be better. Things. I mean, I have an extra one. But it's okay to want to be better, but you guys should also take a second to stop and acknowledge milestones that we're here, right? Acknowledge milestones that because of coming to Missing Link, you guys can either A, play longer with your children, or B, eat a couple extra calories, or C, have a beer at the end of the, those are all milestones in themselves, right? You don't have to be so wrapped up over the numbers that we become zombies. Generally, stage-ready girls fall in the 14 to lower percentage. General athletes of the female type fall in the 15 to 24-ish percentage. General health for women is in that 24 to 28-ish range. But again, these are just generalizations. They are not in any way, shape, or form law. There's girls that step on stage that are way over 20%. You've seen it. You're like, wow, I can't believe there's girls getting on stage, but they're looking great. So if 20% looks great on you and 14% looks great on her, don't worry about the numbers so much. You know what I mean?
Is that your thing sitting next to you?
This is my thing.
We're all saying, okay.
Rude.
He's actually just a clone. I'm just waiting for him to read.
Oh,
A little different. Questions, guys? All right. calories down. The only way we can understand where our calories are is if we're tracking our food. Then, once you guys start tracking that food, try and find what that total daily energy is, right? Shave it a little bit if you need to lose weight. Keep it right where you are if you want to maintain weight and do body recomposition and you want to pay attention to those macros, right? If we're trying to gain weight, kick it up a little bit, right? Kick it up a little bit, and then 3 weeks later, like I lost my fucking abs, turn it back down a little bit, right? It's going to be a constant journey all the time.